Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. Today we are taking a look at Lance Zierlein's latest 2022 NFL mock draft. Again, Lance Zierlein, a guy that I don't particularly agree with a lot with our prospect ranks, but he's a lot more smarter than me. Yep, definitely verified that. And he's a lot more plugged in than me. He's got a lot of sources around the NFL, kind of gauging the interest in prospects from different front offices, head coaches. So taking a look at his mock gives us a lot of insight on how teams are feeling about certain prospects. So before we get into it, obviously, thank you guys for all the support. 750 subscribers on the channel. That's so sweet. Love chopping it up about ball with all y'all. Let's get into that mock draft. It's going to be Trey. Yeah, it's Travon Walker, first overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, I can't get myself to do it. I get Trayvon Walker's got all the traits in the world. Great 40, great 3 cone, extremely strong, great size. He checks all the boxes for sure. The one thing he didn't check is the play. Like the play isn't physically as dominant as Aidan Hutchinson was. I think you're a little concerned with the lack of tool bag moves that Trayvon Walker has in terms of getting after the passer. I mean, only 6.5 sacks last year compared to Aidan Hutchinson's, I think 14 he got up to. You just got to look at the film and see Aidan Hutchinson is the more ready, the better football player. Now, if you feel like you can get Trayvon Walker into your team and teach him how to get after the passer and use those traits to produce an elite edge rusher, I can see it. But in terms of just being ready, I mean, Aidan Hutchinson checks all the boxes on the field and off the field. He's also my favorite college football player of all time. You all know that I'm a Michigan fan. So I'm a little biased, but I do think Aidan Hutchinson is that dude. I'm definitely going Aidan Hutchinson, Jacksonville. That being said, this is seemingly a more popular thing. And obviously, we just talked about Aidan Hutchinson. If Aidan Hutchinson falls to the Detroit Lions, I'm getting the jersey. I'm becoming a Detroit Lion fan. Dan Campbell, give me that 97 Aidan Hutchinson, and I'm fired up. I'm ready to rock and roll as a Detroit Lion fan. Evan Neal going 3 of the Houston Texans. Again, he's not my OT1, but him, Charles Cross, and Ickey Ekwonu, I'm really high on all 3 of those guys. They all have top 10 grades for me. They all have Pro Bowl potential ceilings. Like they all can be all pro offensive left tackles. I think Evan Neal needs a little work on the balance, but at the end of the day, when you're 6'7", 350 pounds and an athlete like Evan Neal is, the game comes a little bit easier. He is pretty smooth. Like he's a good athlete. I just think he needs to work on those balance. He's moved around a little bit on the offensive line during his career at Alabama, so I think he's still figuring it out. But he's going to be really good. I'm completely okay with the pick. At 4, Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner is becoming more of a popular pick at 4. And I think the reason why is the safety of it. Like, there's not many realities where Sauce Gardner isn't a good NFL cornerback at the next level. He's got the length. I think he's very smooth. He's got good ball skills. And then he checked the straight line, 4.41, 40-yard time speed at the combine. Like, there's no holes in this guy's game. He's just overall solid. Does Derek Stingley have maybe a higher ceiling? Yeah, but Sauce Gardner's got a way higher floor. Like his floor is like a solid cornerback 1. There's not many ways I see Sauce Gardner not being a good cornerback in the NFL. We got Kayvon Thibodeaux coming at 5. I want to talk about this real quick because I've seen this play out a lot. Kayvon Thibodeaux's falling on boards. I still think that he's a very good football player. And when you do turn on the film, do you wish you saw a little bit more dominance out of him? Sure. Were there little droughts in his game where he wasn't being as impactful as you would like? Sure. But in terms of he's got all the traits, he's got all the tools, he's put those tools on film. Like he's flashed number 1 draft pick level play. It's not as consistent as you would like. He's obviously dealt with injuries. I don't think the off the field concerns are much of a problem. Like the kid's just 21 years old, trying to brand himself, trying to market himself. I think this would be a good pick. Like I'm not low on this guy at all. He's still a top 5 prospect on my board. And then you get Charles Cross, who's my offensive tackle 1. I think the Carolina Panthers need to go this direction. There's not a quarterback that's going to turn your franchise around. Guess what? Go get your left tackle. That's going to be a franchise. I see Charles Cross being a franchise left tackle for the next 10 years. That's a very important position that the Panthers just haven't hit on for a very long time. Charles Cross is a great athlete. He mirrors people extremely well. He's very strong. I think that was the thing that scouts were looking for this year is that anchor, is that strong punch. I think he showed that. He's the best pass protector in the class, and I think the Carolina Panthers are getting their left tackle of the future. Perfectly okay with it. Ickey Ekwonu going 7. I really like this pick too because he's going to play right tackle. Andrew Thomas at the left, Ickey on the right. It's a really, really good tackle group. Ickey's still developing, but in terms of ceiling, like I said, all these guys have all pro ceiling, but Ickey might be the highest because the power this dude possesses in his hands is like nuts. Every time I turn on the film on him, he's just physically imposing his will on other grown men. It's what you want to see in a tackle. Yeah, does he need to clean out the pass pro? Might that be a potentially rocky transition as he gets to the NFL? Sure, it might be. At the end of the day, you're looking for a guy that has that special power and dominance in his hands. Give me Ickey all day, the big Ick. And then the Falcons, this seems like a straight up smart pick. They need to adjust the wide receiver room. And this is, if anything, just a short term, like, you can't trot out that wide receiver room they're planning on trotting out. Because after Kyle Pitts, I can barely name you a single player in that wide receiver room. I was taking a look at it the other day. It's really, really weak. I think getting Garrett Wilson, he's a bona fide wide receiver 1. Pair him up with Kyle Pitts. And then whatever you decide to do with Calvin Ridley, whether you're retaining him or trading him, you got a solid bones of a wide receiver room for probably you're getting a quarterback next year in the 2023 NFL draft class. So that quarterback is going to come in and have some weapons to work with. Garrett Wilson, obviously, our wide receiver 1. 10, number 9, Seattle Seahawks take Derek Stingley. There's been a lot of talk about quarterback. I don't think it's a bad spot for the Seattle Seahawks to take quarterback because a guy like Malik Willis is a developmental guy. He'll need a couple of years, but guess what? Seattle's not going to be competing for the next couple of years. They're kind of blowing it up, starting that rebuild. Malik Willis isn't a guy that I hate having to rebuild with because the tools he has is really, really good. I heard the discussion about his athleticism and how he might have looked like a better athlete than he was because he's playing at Liberty. And if he was playing at the SEC, it might have not been as effective. I think Malik Willis's athleticism is much closer to Lamar Jackson's than it is to Jalen Hurts. Like it's not a tool in his game. It's a weapon in his game. He doesn't use his athleticism to extend plays and then maybe catch defenses off guard like a Jalen Hurts might. He's a bona fide, one of the best ball carriers we saw last year in the whole league, in the whole country. Like better than Kenneth Walker in terms of carrying the ball in space. He's really, really good. He's strong. He's thick. He's got a rocket arm. He just needs to clean it up. He needs to work on the progression. He needs to work on the accuracy. The scheme is gonna be a difficult transition as well, but give him a couple of years. I think this dude can be a bona fide franchise quarterback. But Derek Stingley, let's talk about the prospect. The best film. He would be the number 1 overall pick if you put 3 years of film like he did as a true freshman. Concerning things, you haven't seen that in 2 years. I'm still high on him. He's still my cornerback 1, although Sauce Gardner is a hell of a lot closer than he was 2 months ago. I still like the pick. He's still a top 10 prospect on my board. I'm okay with it. And then Jermaine Johnson, a ROC Boy favorite. Edge 3 in our class over Travon Walker. I don't see him falling outside of 7 to the Giants personally. Jermaine Johnson just has, in terms of checking all the boxes, he does it. He's got a little good burst around the edge. He's not as twitchy as a guy like Trayvon Walker, Aidan Hutchinson, but he's athletic. He's really strong. He's got good length. The biggest thing I see is he's been in college for 5 years, and he's developed a really, really impressive tool bag of rush moves. Like he can win in a lot of different ways. You see it on film. And Kayvon Thibodeaux is like the one guy who got a Kayvon Thibodeaux was Jermaine Johnson. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeaux dominated everyone in the ACC besides Jermaine Johnson. He's shown he can do it against top-level talent at that tackle position. I am the massive fan of Jermaine Johnson. Besides Aidan Hutchinson, might have had the best film of any defensive player this year. I mean, really, really impressive stuff out of Jermaine Johnson. Washington Commanders. So Kyle Hamilton continues to fall. And the Washington Commanders take Drake London. I think Jameson Williams would be a little bit better fit here. I think Carson Wentz likes to push the ball downfield. I personally have Chris Olave as my wide receiver too. I know a lot of people like Drake London, and I see the value Drake London can bring as like work in the middle of the field, has a big catch radius, very good contested catch guy. I just worry, like, I want to get a guy who can create separation. You don't need to catch contested if you have really, really good route polish and can create separation. I think that's more of a Chris Olave type guy. But again, I know the media, the scouts are really high on Drake London. So we'll see how that fits. Again, I'm not as high on Drake London. Now we got Kyle Hamilton falling all the way to the Vikings, who were really slated to get a cornerback or get an edge guy. And this is kind of worst case scenario for them because those 4 edge guys are off the board and the top 2 cornerbacks are off the board. And Sauce Gardner and Stingley. Kyle Hamilton falls. I say worst case scenario, but you're getting a top 10 prospect in Kyle Hamilton. Obviously, the 40 times a little concerning, but Kyle Hamilton can do it all in terms of impact in the game. He can do it. Come inside the box, defend the run really, really effectively. Take some bad angles. We had a viewer kind of tell us that. I went back and there were some times where he thought he was a little faster than he was and gave up a big play. But in terms of getting his hands on football, creating turnovers, he was a really good basketball player. And so when that ball's in the air and he's playing center field, he's going to go up and get it. He's got really good ball skills, 6'4", 220-pound, just kind of a freak. I think he's going to be really good at taking away those big athletic tight ends as well at the next level. I still really like Kyle Hamilton's game. I think he can do it all. I think he can allow your defense to play in a lot of different packages. Give me Kyle Hamilton all day at 12. Devonte Wyatt, first DT off the board. He's got a freaky first step. We just broke down a defensive tackle, so if you guys want to go check that out, check out our thoughts on Devonte Wyatt, go do it. Great first step. I didn't think he was given the chance to dominate at Georgia like a lot of other defensive tackles were, but he's going to be really good. This seems a little bit rich for him. I think the Houston Texans have a lot more important holes than Devonte Wyatt to cover up or to fill in, I should say. But Devonte Wyatt's a good prospect. George Karlaftis just makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. Kind of fits what the Baltimore Ravens want to do. I think he pairs up with Odafe Oweh really well. Odafe Oweh, much more of a twitchier, bendier guy. George Karlaftis, much more of just a really heavy-handed, really powerful dude who's going to stand up tackles in the run game, go right through tackles and blow up pockets. I think he fits what the Baltimore Ravens try to do on defense as well. I think this pick makes a lot of sense. Trent McDuffie, the Eagles. This would be best case scenario for the Eagles. I think they need a cornerback, and I think Trent McDuffie has a chance at falling. If Derek Stingley falls, which certainly might be a possibility too, that could be an option. But Trent McDuffie, in terms of the prospect, we talked about him. Really, really good in zone coverage, having his eyes on the quarterback, reading eyes and breaking on the football. Extremely good at that. He's obviously a little bit shorter, lacks the length, but I don't see that be a problem on film. Biggest question mark about Trent McDuffie is how much was he tested? He looked like a guy like Roger McCreary was tested against Bryce Young and John Mechie. Was tested against some of the best wide receiver quarterback duos in the country. What quarterback wide receiver duo in the Pac-12 was testing Trent McDuffie? I struggle. I worry about how well he's battle tested. But again, the film is great. The measurables are good. I think he's a top 15 prospect at a position need for the Eagles. Go up and get him. The Saints go get Malik Willis. I just don't agree with this, and the reason why is I think the Saints have a couple more years to compete, especially not knowing how long Brady's going to be there. I think Jameis Winston. I think he's able to, if you build around him, go get him Jameson Williams, go get a tackle to protect him. I think that the Saints can have a good enough offense where that defense can kind of carry them a little bit. I think they have a chance to make a playoff, and I think they have a chance to maybe compete for a Super Bowl this year. So I don't know if I agree taking a guy that's just not going to provide any value in terms of this year. I mean, he's going to need some time. Jameis Winston is going to be the starter this year. I'd rather go build around Jameis Winston than go get Malik Willis personally, but I can see why you'd be enticed to go get Malik Willis if he falls 16. Trevor Penning, don't like him. I just don't think he'll be a good tackle yet. He's 23 years old, led the country in personal fouls and penalties in general. Holdings, personal fouls, false starts. He's got a lot more work than people say he does. Yeah, he's really exciting. He's 6'7", looks like a damn mountain out there, really physical. Yeah, I get it. But in terms of technique, he's not that good at pass protection. And when you saw him against Power 5 competition like Iowa State, guys like Will McDonald, they kind of fed him. Trevor Penning didn't look very good against Iowa State, and that's the film that you really care about. I don't care if he's moving a guy from South Dakota State. It's just in that all respect to South Dakota State at the FCS level, that's multiple steps up to the guys he's gonna be having to block in the NFL. I think he needs a lot more work than people say. I think he's more of a second round guy. Personally, he's 24 years old. So it's like he was a 5th-year guy. He's old. He's not like a young guy you can develop. I don't know about Trevor Penning, y'all. Treylon Burks, again, I don't like Treylon Burks that much. It's not that I don't like him. I just think there's more wide receivers. I would rather go get a Chris Olave. But in terms of like explosive plays, Treylon Burks is that dude. Really, really good going up, playing above the rim, physical, really big hands. Uses those big hands to catch over people. At the end of the day, he did dominate at the SEC level. He was getting absolutely force fed too at Arkansas and was making pretty much every play that came his way. When Arkansas needed a big play, they went to Treylon Burks. I just think you need to scheme him up a lot of touches. He doesn't have that polished full route tree that he can run. When you're like when you're calling the plays on the offense for the Philadelphia Eagles, you're going to need to figure out how you can get the ball in his hands because you can't just tell him to run a 10-yard dig and he's going to get open. He's just not. You got to figure out a way how you're going to get him involved. And so I just worry about that, taking a top 20 guy like that. Jameson Williams, this is what I'm talking about. Like, give Jameis Winston, Jameson Williams, Mike Thomas, hopefully healthy, Alvin Kamara, hopefully healthy. I think you can do some work. I really do. I really like this pick. You guys know how I feel. Jameson Williams at the end of the day has game-breaking speed. He's the closest thing to Tyreek Hill we've seen in a while. Extremely explosive. Guys just struggle to keep up with him. It's hard to cover guys just straight up faster than you and faster than you by that much. I think he'd be a great fit in the offense. I think he'd balance out Mike Thomas well, and I think he'd really help Jameis Winston what they try to do. It'd be a really good pick. 20. Steelers go get the hometown kid, Kenny Pickett. At the end of the day, Kenny Pickett's the most NFL-ready guy. Like, if the Saints were going to pick any quarterback, go get Kenny Pickett, a guy who's ready to be an NFL starter. The ceiling isn't there like a Malik Willis or like a Sam Howell, but, I mean, he's got a good arm. He's accurate. Goes through his progressions really well. Doesn't put the ball in harm's way. He's gotten better every single year he's been at Pitt. Kenny Pickett's a good prospect. He just doesn't have that elite ceiling, especially when you're throwing him in there. A guy like Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, you're going to need to score points. Is Kenny Pickett the guy that's going to really let up the stat sheet, fill up the scoreboard? I don't know, but I do like Kenny Pickett's game in terms of being an NFL-ready quarterback. He is the most NFL-ready quarterback in the class. Kenny Green to the Patriots. It's the first time I've seen Kenny Green go to the Patriots. I'm a huge fan of Kenny Green. I know he didn't have a great testing, but he's a football athlete. He's not a underwear Olympics athlete. And I don't mean to like make fun of the combine, but Kenny Green's a good football player, and you just have to turn on the film to see that. He's thick lower half. He's played every single position besides center on that offensive line for Texas A&M, and he's just an absolute human road grader. He moves people around for a living. If you're trying to establish the run, I would love for the Dallas Cowboys to go get him. You want to get downhill with Ezekiel Elliott, go get Kenny Green. Unfortunately, goes 21. Bill Belichick, big brain, getting a really good prospect who's a top 20 prospect on our board. Just playing interior offensive line, you're not getting that positional value. He'll slip. He'll be a good pick for whoever gets him. I really like Kenny Green's game. Jordan Davis falls. I think the Packers are crazy not getting Chris Olave here. Chris Olave is still on the board. Go get Aaron Rodgers. Like, they passed up on so many good wide receivers in their days. I don't think they can afford to do it again. Chris Olave is a guy that just gets open. He's just a good wide receiver who's dominated the Big Ten for 4 years. Trust me, as a Michigan fan, good riddance. I don't want to see him. I hope he goes to the Packers so I don't have to see him on the Kansas City Chiefs. Jordan Davis is a good player. Like, I like Jordan Davis, but I really think they need to build around Aaron Rodgers because this is their Super Bowl window. Give him some guys that he can cook with and put up points with. You ain't putting up any points with Jordan Davis unless you're on the 4th and 1 or 1 yard line, 4th and goal. You give him a little fullback belly. You're not putting up many points with Jordan Davis. 23. See, that's what I worry about as a Bills fan too. Chris Olave is a picture perfect fit for the Chiefs. I think what got the Chiefs in trouble is Pat Mahomes trying to do too much, trying to play a little too much backyard football, scrambling around the pocket. If they get a wide receiver that can kind of keep them on schedule, run really, really clean routes, create some separation, and Pat Mahomes can hit him in stride. That's what they need on offense. They were just playing too much backyard football, making stuff up on the fly, asking Patrick Mahomes to do too much. Give him a guy that's going to create separation, run really clean routes, and keep them kind of playing their game. Chris Olave is wide receiver 2 on our board. He's going to be a great fit in Kansas City. Again, as a Michigan fan, I don't want to have to see my Buffalo Bills be playing Chris Olave in the playoffs because Chris Olave is a dog. He's just good. People want to get all like, oh, Drake London can just moss people or Jameson Williams has track speed. Yeah, well, Chris Olave just fills up the stat sheet and is a really good football player. It's as simple as that. Dallas Cowboys go get Bernie, the Burn Man. Dill would be thrilled. So it does come down to Zazie. Zion Johnson's also on the board. I think Zion Johnson's a better blue chip prospect, where Zion Johnson doesn't need any more development. He's going to be a plug and play guy who's going to start for you week one. Bernie Ryman, not so much. Converted tight end. He's playing tight end 2 years ago. Put on, I believe, 60 pounds since then. He's a 240-pound tight end a couple of years ago, coming from Austria. But he's a freak athlete. In terms of ceiling, like Bernie Ryman could be an all-pro tackle, but he's going to need some work. So if you want to get him in there, maybe stick him at guard for the first couple of years, have him learn behind Tyron Smith, and then you might have your future left tackle. I like Bernie Ryman's game. It's just, I don't know, are the Dallas Cowboys trying to go win a Super Bowl? Or are they trying to develop and try to build roster build? You can do a little bit of both, but maybe they need to commit. Buffalo Bills get Kaiir Elam. I think they really pigeonholed themselves into getting a DB. Won't be able to beat the Chiefs. I say we, Buffalo Bills fan, we're not going to be able to beat the Chiefs or running out Dane Jackson. We traded Trey White towards ACL. We're not sure when he's going to come back. Levi Wallace gone to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We need an alpha DB. Kaiir Elam is a long, physical, pretty smooth. I think that's his biggest flaw. He's not that smooth, but he's a good athlete. He's got good straight line speed. And big thing is he's long and physical. Give us someone like that. Get his hands on some wide receivers on the Kansas City Chiefs. And we need a DB. Take the best DB available. If that's Kaiir Elam, take him. If that's Andrew Booth, take him. I don't really care which one it is. Got to take one of them. Tennessee Titans go get Devin Lloyd. First linebacker off the board. I'm more of this. This is where I have the linebackers more or less. I think a lot of people like to say Devin Lloyd could be a Micah Parsons, which is just ridiculous. But I know we saw Devin Lloyd blitz off the edge a few times and he was successful. But he's not nearly the athlete Mike Parsons is. Devin Lloyd's a good football player. He's got good instincts. He also was a guy that was all over his stat sheet. I think he had 18.5 tackles for a loss, 10 sacks, over 100 tackles. He was a really, really good football player in college. He's going to be a good NFL linebacker. This is a good spot for him. I mean, Tyler Linderbaum, Zion Johnson still on the board. Maybe Tennessee has other guys they want they should fill, other holes they want to fill. But Devin Lloyd's a good football player. This is about the range I take Devin Lloyd. Bucs will get Travis Jones. Put him up with Vita Vea. That's a really scary interior defensive line group. If you don't get Jordan Davis, go get Travis Jones. I think they do a lot. I mean, Travis Jones is physically dominant. You saw it at the Senior Bowl. He tested well at the Combine. Obviously, coming from UConn, it's really hard to stand out. When you're down 30-0 in the third quarter, are you going to be playing as hard as you would be if you were playing in front of 100,000 guys in the big house at Michigan? I don't know. I like Travis Jones' game. This seems a little bit rich for me, but the Bucs are really trying to find that 1% guy who's going to get them a little bit better. And if that's Travis Jones, it's Travis Jones. So the Green Bay Packers end up passing on a wide receiver at 22. And this is why I think they need to take a wide receiver at 22 is because the Chiefs have 2 picks in the next in the late first round. And they're probably going to be trading up. I think there's a bunch of teams that are eyeing wide receivers. They probably need to get one at 22 or even trade up to 20 in that Steelers spot to go get one. Christian Watson, you don't see many guys run 4.3 40s at 6'4", 210 pounds. He's a generational athlete for sure. I don't think he has the movement skills that people give him credit for. He ran one good route at the Senior Bowl, and it was impressive. But when you watch the film on him, I don't think he changes direction at that high of a level. I worry about him creating separation if he's not running kind of a fly, creating separation vertically. That is part of his game, but I don't see the change of direction. I don't see the polished route running that I'm very comfortable taking him in the first round. I much more prefer a Jahan Dotson, a Sky Moore, guys who are more polished route runners who've done it at a higher level of football. 29, Arizona Cardinals go get Breece Hall. This is a weird one. They just re-signed James Conner. I don't think there's a running back that's worth a first-round pick in this year's class. Breece Hall's good. I really like Breece Hall. He's our RB2 behind Kenneth Walker, but it's razor tight between the two. In terms of positional value, in terms of the holes that Arizona Cardinals have, I feel like there's some other positions they might want to address. Breece Hall's a solid player. I just don't like the positional value. I think it's a little rich for a running back that's not going to provide crazy upside. Kansas City Chiefs go get Boy Mafe, a guy that is athletically a freak. I don't see it on the film as much as I would like. freaks athletically like Boy Mafe don't normally stay 5 years. I don't think the film was not first round talent. He's definitely, if he gets picked in the first round, it's because of the athletic testing that he did, which is worrisome in my mind. I think that's a little rich for him, quite frankly. And then Kyler Gordon, way too rich. Kyler Gordon's a guy that didn't have great film and then was like, he's going to be a first round pick because he's going to test really well. And he doesn't even test that well. And then he doubles down on the testing at pro day. It wasn't just like a one thing at the combine. I don't think he's the athlete that everybody thought he was. You can't pick him in the first round, especially with a guy like Andrew Booth on the board. Not a good pick. And then the Detroit Lions finishing up with Matt Corral. They got a lot of holes. And Nakobe Dean's still on the board. Daxton Hill's still on the board. There's a lot of really good football players that are still on the board that I think the Detroit Lions would benefit taking. There's going to be a litter of quarterbacks that are better than Matt Corral next year. Matt Corral's not even going to play this year. If you take Matt Corral this year, Jared Goff's still going to play. I worry about Matt Corral being a mature quarterback at the next level. It's one thing to be a quarterback at Ole Miss under Lane Kiffin. It's another thing to be leading 35-year-olds with families. I question that. I mean, Matt Corral also coming from a really heavy RPO scheme. How well is that going to translate to the next level? A lot of question marks. I think there's a lot less question marks with prospects like Dax Hill with Nakobe Dean. I don't love the pick. I think there's going to be a lot more better quarterbacks at the next year's 2023 NFL draft class. So I'm probably not taking Matt Corral this year. But that's a wrap on that 2022 first round NFL mock. Obviously, appreciate you guys tuning in. Check out the shirts. Shout out Emma for making me a ROC Boys football shirt. Best birthday present ever. Appreciate you guys for watching, rocking with the ROC Boys, and we'll be back with more 2022 NFL draft content, y'all. Peace.